"We're going to be around for a while," was a quote from Jim Nill's latest interview with SportsNet. So, how well are the Stars built for the future? Let's take a look. We'll also preview tonight's game against the Lightning and play Shooting Star.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. "We're going to be around for a while" is a quote that should be music to Stars fans' ears. The Stars are ready to rock and roll for the next decade or so. So let's take a peek at some of the important decisions the Stars may have to make here in the near future to keep that window open. We'll also preview tonight's game against the Lightning and play Shooting Star to get you out of here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Stars, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So there's a lot of things that go into building a roster, keeping that roster successful for now and for the future. And Dallas has done a fantastic job of that recently, and they're starting to reap the benefits of that. But the quote to begin the article with Eric Engels on SportsNet is, "We're going to be around for a while." And that's how Jim Nill described the window extended for Dallas after acquiring Mikko Rantanen. And don't forget about the 5-year extension to Wyatt Johnston. And there's a lot of neat nuggets in here that I want to share with you as well. Here's a quote that says, "Never saw this coming," he says, "of the deadline deal that shook the hockey world. If you had told me 2 months ago, I never would have thought we'd have done what we've done. I didn't know it was even going to happen until 2 hours before the trade deadline. Getting a marquee player like that for both now and the future just doesn't happen." That's how precarious these things are. So many different variables that go into it, and it's a big moment for our franchise. And I mentioned this right when the deal was made with Rantanen. And the great thing about the deal for Dallas was they didn't have to mortgage a ton of their future to get a player like Rantanen. That window is still wide open. And I think the Johnston extension really solidifies that. He's going to be a key important piece for Dallas. But here's one of the interesting nuggets. So about 3 weeks later, following the deadline deal that grabbed Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci, Nill did say here, "In my mind, I thought that was probably our trade deadline, and that would be it for the playoff run and for the deadline." And if you recall, the Ceci Granlund deal got done after the Miro Heiskanen injury. If I'm not going bonkers, I believe that was after the Miro injury because they wanted to get Ceci in here and they could add some scoring along the wing because Tyler Seguin was out. So in Jim Nill's head, that was going to be it for Dallas until about 3 weeks later, Carolina GM Eric Tulsky notified Nill that the Stars were one of the handful of teams Rantanen might consider signing with. Eventually, they came to agree on a package, which was the package that we saw a few weeks ago. And then they were given permission to negotiate. And of course, we all know how that went. So I thought that was really, really curious how just a couple hours before the deadline, this sort of began to transpire. They agreed to a package, and then boom, all of a sudden, Mikko Rantanen is a Dallas Star. And maybe that caused some hindrance for Dallas to try to acquire another D-man if that's where they were headed at the beginning or a few days prior to the trade deadline. They were sniffing around a couple of blue liners, but when the opportunity arose to get somebody like Rantanen, I think they pounced on it. And I think that's a great move by the Stars. And let's take a look at some of the key factors for Dallas moving forward. There's a lot of things that come into play when you consider roster building, right? Number one is the prospect pool. And Scott Wheeler does prospect pool rankings for all 32 NHL teams every year. This was written back in January, but Scott Wheeler has Dallas as the 31st team in the 2025 NHL prospect pool rankings. And it was headlined by Liam Bichsel. Of course, at the time, they had graduated Logan Stankoven and Maverick Bourque, and now Stankoven not a part of the Stars organization. But Liam Bichsel headlined this prospect pool ranking, and now Bischel's playing some really important minutes and key minutes for the Stars. I am so fascinated to see how Bichsel plays come playoff time. I think he's been a great addition to the Stars blue line and just seems to be getting more and more comfortable. And I haven't talked about him a lot recently, which I think is a good sign. If he's not making a ton of mistakes, then we're going to be talking about him quite a bit. Or I should say it's the other way around. If he is making a lot of mistakes, we're going to be harping on him a lot. And he's had his issues. He's going to have growing pains. He's a rookie. He hasn't even played 25 games in the NHL at this point. But behind him is Emil Hemming. And then you have Christian Kyrou. You have Minitian, who I'm pretty bullish on. He's a Boston College Golden Eagles. So the Stars don't have the deepest prospect pool ranking, but they still have some good players, and it will be curious to see how some of these prospects play out. But also for a team like Dallas, they're competing every single year now for the next 5 years or so. They already went through the trenches to draft and scout, and they're reaping benefits of the Wyatt Johnstons of the world. Like the Stars have been a fantastic draft and development team. Like look at a guy like Oscar Beck, right? Who's now pretty much playing every day in a fourth line role and has filled in for Radek Faksa, who was let go of the summer. But there are some key deals that I think could help Dallas improve moving forward and give them some more cap flexibility. Jamie Benn comes off the books. He's $9.5 million a year. Jim Nill has stated if he's around, Jamie Benn's going to be around. And I agree with that. I think Ben is a quality player. He's been rather productive here over the last few seasons, but he's going to have to sign a team-friendly deal. Maybe a couple of years, maybe $4 million, maybe total. Maybe it's something like 4.5. I think would be a pretty fair deal for someone like Ben, who can kind of stick around. He has a great chance to win now with this young roster, because Robertson's going to be up in 25, 26. And who knows what that's going to look like depending on where Robo is at that point. And yes, Mikko Rantanen is a lot of money at $12 million for the next 8 years. So there are going to be some important decisions Dallas has to make. You may have to move off a guy like Mason Marchment in a few years, right? In order to afford to hold on to players like Jason Robertson. Look at maybe even Sam Steele, Maverick Bourque, right? He's going to need an RFA deal after this season. So there is just a lot of moving pieces, and the Stars are going to have to do some cap gymnastics. The great thing is their core pieces are locked up. Rope Henstil, he's locked up till, what is it? I think 2031. Yeah, he's locked up till 2031. Rantanen 2033 down. Johnson's going to be until 2030 because he extended himself for the next 5 years. And you got Mira till 2029 and Lindell now till 2030, who signed in the offseason as well. So those are your core pieces that are going to be around, I guess, to the latest 2029. So right there, that's the next 4 or 5 years where Dallas should be contending almost every single season, depending on injuries and the pieces they put around their different core players. But they have such a great mix of old and new. I think the Stars are going to get really young here the next few years, especially once Seguin is up in a few years' time. I'm just really curious to see what type of player Seguin's even going to be in the next couple of years, coming off another surgery. He's been a trooper here over the last few seasons. He's just banged up constantly, and that's just sort of where he's at in his career. But, there always could be a potential to buy Seguin out maybe in 26, 27. That could be rather costly, though. I don't know exactly what the buyout would be. Let's see. He's got to buy out his last 2 years of his contract. I'm on Puckpedia. I'm curious to see what that would look like. So the buyout total cost, it says, is 666. Yeah, basically upwards of 700,000. So they're going to save some money if they do that. And again, this is a little bit down the road, so getting ahead of ourselves, but I think it's a realistic possibility, just depending on where Tyler's at. And when he's 35, it's just, he's not the player. He's not the player like Ben is at 35 currently, right? Just a lot of surgeries and wear and tear on that body. But look, the Stars have a great future ahead of themselves, and we've talked about it quite a bit over the last year or so. And Wyatt was probably an even more important piece to anything than just Mikko Rantanen. But you get a star like Rantanen that you can put around Rope and Robo, and Dallas can make some hay. Now it's just about putting the right pieces around those guys, and they've done a great job of that up front. Look, the back end leaves much to be desired. The Tanev loss really hurt. The Tanev loss really hurt the Stars. If he was around, you'd be in such a better spot. If you had Harley, Tanev, Lindell, you wouldn't have to go out and get somebody like even Dumba. Maybe Lyubushkin was still on their radar because you just need a right shot. And then you could have Harley. Imagine, or not, on your right side, you could have Tanev, Lyubushkin, and then maybe Niels as your sixth defenseman, right? And Niels, I mean, who would have thought we'd be saying how important he could be right now? Just to give Dallas a puck moving, a guy that can skate a little bit. Like, Niels was having a really nice season, and he's out for the rest of the year, which stinks because I think he could really chew up some minutes for Dallas right now at a crucial spot in the season. And look, a lot of this year is going to come down to Miro. And there was some clarification from Pete DeBoer, not a ton, but he kind of clarified that the timeline hasn't changed. He could be ready for game one. He couldn't. And unfortunately, just the way the Stars have sort of constructed their blue line, he's going to be the X factor at this point. Like, if he plays, Stars can make a deep run. If he doesn't, I don't see it. I don't see it. And y'all know me, I'm pretty positive, and I try to be optimistic on things. I don't see them getting past anybody without number 4. Unless you get phenomenal goaltending. Stars shouldn't have issues scoring, you would hope. If they get phenomenal goaltending from Otter, like elite type of stuff, night in, night out come postseason, I mean, they could beat anybody. If you get a hot goaltender, you can figure it out. But man, he's a massive loss, and the Stars are leaking oil, right? Like, they're not as deep as Colorado on the blue line, and you can even make some arguments they may not be as deep up front with what Colorado has added. So I'm going into this postseason with a real, hampered, I think that's the right word, just sort of expectation. So I'm fascinated by it. But the great thing is, and maybe some people don't want to hear this, Stars can be good for a long time, which is a great thing. But don't misconstrue that. I want the Stars to freaking win, and I want them to win it this year. I think it's as good as time as ever to go for it in the Western Conference, because there's going to be some teams that get better too here in the next couple of years. Colorado feels like a team that could be hanging around for a few more, and then maybe they're going to have to kind of rebuild, retool, maybe would be the word for that. So anyways, a lot of curious things. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the task at hand tonight. Tampa Bay in town. Stars Lightning at the AAC. We'll preview that game tonight in just a moment.
Did you know getting a good night's sleep is the #1 recipe for long-term success in life? I didn't. It took me way longer to realize than I'd like to admit. It was years of tossing and turning. I was always tired. I never felt like I could live up to my potential, but not anymore. Thanks to Bear Mattress. I used their sleep quiz and I matched with the Elite Hybrid. It's perfect for side sleepers like me. Now I wake up energized. I'm getting deeper sleeps and I'm ready to attack the day. No matter how you sleep, Bear Mattress has a match for you with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
The Dallas Stars taking on a red-hot Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. The Lightning 6-3-1 in their last 10, coming off a couple of wins over Boston and Philadelphia. They're second in the Atlantic, 39-23-5 this season, and they look to be on a crash course with Toronto once again in the first round, and that could be a heck of a series with the Lightning grabbing some really nice pieces at the deadline. They went out and grabbed Yanni Gourde and just grabbed some depth some depth pieces for up front. So I think they're going to be an exciting team. And obviously they're led by Kucherov, and Vasilevsky, if he's on, is the best goalie in the world. And he's been excellent. He has the most saves in the NHL. So he's faced a ton of shots. He's 32, 18-3 this season, 2.24 goals against and .920 save percentage. Like some high quality stuff from Vasilevsky. And Kucherov up front has been lighting up the world. He's a goal away from 30. Hagel, Point, and Gensel all have 30 goals already this season. They can light the lamp. They're second this season with 3.51 goals per game, and they don't give up a ton either. So they have the makings of a team, I think, that could do some damage out in the East. Can they get past Florida? Who knows? But Hagel's had such a fantastic season. I mean, 73 points this season, just kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, he had 26 last year, though. You know, he touched 30 a few years ago, but he's going to smash a career high. And man, he's just had a breakout year. And a Point, just one of the more underrated two-way center icemen in the world, seems to light up Dallas every time they play. So it'll be a good matchup. Dallas defeated Tampa back in November 4-2. Their power plays lethal, fifth, I should say, in the NHL. Gensel leads them with 15 power play goals. He leads the entire NHL in power play tallies. So special teams may be important. And DeBoer mentioned the Stars need to be disciplined, and hopefully they continue to not take penalties like they have over the last week. They're just loading up too many good power plays. You look at Winnipeg, Edmonton, and even, I mean, a pretty bad power play in Anaheim. But you give them 4 opportunities, they're going to make you pay at some point, and that's what happens. So it's a battle of special teams and goaltending in this one. I'm curious to see if DeSmith goes. I thought he was going to go the other night, but they went with Otter. But I feel like Jake just needs a night to sort of reset. So Vasilevsky, though, has been brilliant. And it seems like opposing netminders have been phenomenal in the AAC this season. Back in November, I'm just curious to take a peek at that one. Stars went 1 for 3 on the power play, and that was during a time where they kind of stunk. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Dodonov had a goal. Duchesne had a goal. Rope scored a power play goal. Just trying to kind of jog the memory of what happened. They scored twice in the third within a minute of each other to strike back and double up on Tampa Bay. Can't recall how well Tampa was playing coming into that game, but Dallas seemed to hold their own rather well. So with a couple of quick tallies in the third period. So it's going to be a great test. Look, Dallas hasn't played their best hockey. That's not breaking news. I would love to see them sort of close things down in their own zone. I mentioned this yesterday following the Anaheim win. They have to be more responsible in their own zone. They're just giving teams way too many opportunities by turning the puck over at their blue line. And a part of that is their just lack of defensemen that can just move the puck, but it needs to be more simple, and forwards certainly need to help out with that too, and not fly the zone. The Star system's all based around puck possession, right? Well, sometimes they seem to get possession and they're not supporting each other enough, and they're flying the zone, and there's just no lanes to get pucks out, and they're having to flip a lot and just basically give the puck back to the opponent and sort of get back into structure. But they got to find ways to move the puck, especially through neutral ice. Seems like teams are starting to take that away from Dallas, who's been really great off the rush this season. Haven't been able to just get out and on their toes. I think some of that has to be their forecheck. They have to be more willing to just throw pucks in and go after it. I've noticed that a lot with the top line in particular. Robo has done a phenomenal job of hunting after pucks, and he digs in the corners and can cause some turnovers, which you love to see. We highlighted the fourth line the other day, and that's what Dallas needs to do a smidge more of, just with the way they're going about their business defensively. Like, they're just going to give up chances, and you got to live with that. And you're going to have to get really above average goaltending. And if the Stars can score 3 a night, they're going to have opportunities to win some games until Miro comes back. So it's a phenomenal test. I really look forward to watching this one. I think it's another one of those kind of contenders. Stars taking on a good team that people love to see, and if they can find a way to get 2 points, I think it's a big confidence booster. The Anaheim win felt lethargic. It's like, okay, we're okay. We can get back on track here. Hopefully they can carry some of that into Thursday night here. So some good stuff. Do not know any updates from Wednesday. I had to record this on a Wednesday afternoon. I have a game I'm actually calling here later tonight, and I'm going to be on a bus all day tomorrow. So had to record a bit early. So we'll see what the lineup looks like for tomorrow. I would suspect Dodonov's going to be back in. If I had to guess, they'll probably get him back into the lineup. Maybe you see Oscar Beck sit. I think it's been a bit since he's been a healthy scratch. So we'll see what Dallas tinkers with, but I would suspect to see more of the same in terms of the lineup for the Stars. Let's go ahead and go to Shooting Star, America's favorite segment. Let me know your pick by voting, and let me know in the comments below. We'll do that, and I'll share my Shooting Star pick in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. The madness has already happened. If you were watching the games on Tuesday, the 2 16 seeds playing the play-in game, there's a buzzer beater already, which is insane. So get in on March Madness with FanDuel, because new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beater to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I'm going with Duke this year. That's my winner. Hopefully that will pay off for me. But FanDuel, you can pick favorites, you can pick those underdogs, you stay in the action. It's easy, fast, simple to use, and when you win, you get paid. That's what is always about getting paid. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com, get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Okay, shooting star for a Thursday, March 20th, Stars versus Lightning. Dallas is 41-21-3. Sometimes I look at where Dallas is, and I also am very grateful. Not that I'm particularly in love with how the Stars are playing right now, but I'm just grateful they've had a really nice season, and feels like the year could really be at the balance right now, depending on what happens with Miro. But I think they've done an excellent job of just winning games and fighting through a lot. And hopefully it's worth it, right? And it's only going to be worth it if you win a cup. But I think sometimes it's good for us to step back and acknowledge this team's done a heck of a job. And hopefully they get it done. We all want them to. Of course, I do. But sometimes it's hard to not have reality kick you in the face sometimes. So anyways, just I am grateful. I'm grateful I get to do this, and I'm grateful I get to talk about a team I love so much, and that's been very, very good for another regular season. So enough with the emotional stuff. I'm going to go with Jamie Benn. He's on 399 goals in his career. He gets his 400th tonight. Just book it. Put the house on it. Jamie Benn, my shooting star pick for tonight. He gets 400, and hopefully a Stars victory to cap it off at home to begin this 4-game homestand. So there we are. That's my shooting star pick. Going with the captain. He's been on a mission a little bit. Thought he played really good. He's got assists in back-to-back games now. So I'm going with the captain, Jamie Benn. That's my shooting star pick. And that's it for a Thursday edition of Locked On Stars. Shout out to all you everydayers out there. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, never miss an episode. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Continue to comment, vote on the YouTube community tab. I'm getting back to that. I've been lazy a bit when everything got a bit haywire, but over the Four Nations break. But please do that. And as always, Stars fans, have a fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back on Friday to break it all down. So long, Stars fans.